I'm going to cover David's video here because there's some very dangerous things that have been going on during this pandemic. Not only do we have, we had a president in charge at the time that this pandemic started who pretended like it wasn't even happening at all, right? So we were slow to respond in the first place. Then he wanted to open everything up by Easter because he was he was trying to convince, you guys remember he was trying to convince all the elderly people to sacrifice themselves. Y'all should go out there and sacrifice yourselves for the economy. So that was happening. Then you've got the crazy zealots that follow him who were doing their reopen protests. And in this time, we could have been coming up with effective strategies for actually making sure that we were not transmitting the disease and focusing on trying to develop treatments and vaccines and stuff. But instead, that was all kind of on the down low in the background while he was trying to convince his entire base that this is no problem. It's like the flu. It's nothing. Then there was the Rose Garden massacre, where some of the staffers that attended that lost limbs, literally lost limbs. Let's cover this video. I'm also going to interject some of the shit from the progressive live streamers.
The TRIPS waiver. This is the WTO waiver that would allow the vaccines to be produced and distributed globally for a fraction of the cost by taking control of the patents away from Big Pharma and putting it into the hands of other reputable producers that could produce and distribute the vaccines globally. But of course, Big Pharma has been against that because they care more about their profits instead of people's lives. So you have the situation where you still have major countries, including Germany, the UK, and Canada, refusing to drop their opposition to the TRIPS waiver, despite the fact that 140 other countries and the head of the World Health Organization and hundreds of civil society organizations support it. All because they care more about their profits. Now, you'll notice here that the U.S. is no longer in this list. Biden came out a few months ago claiming to be publicly in support of the TRIPS waiver, though apparently I've read other articles saying behind the scenes they have not been singing its praises, so they have been actually fighting against it, just as Germany and Canada and the UK have. But Biden has come out with a new statement saying he's in support of it, so I'll get to that in a second. We will see, but you would think, the world's superpower will be able to pressure these countries to support this TRIPS waiver to allow these vaccines to be distributed globally, but still, they have not. Maybe this new variant will freak them into it.
Okay.
But you have here the big news from CNN.
So, I would like to interject at this point. I don't know why every goddamn day we have to have so much noise in my neighborhood, but all right. It's Saturday, y'all, after Thanksgiving. Well, anyway. There were several live streamers who took a very hard right last year. And they're all connected to People's Party for the most part. So I don't think that anybody at this point can deny that there's some GOP money going into that whole network, going into not only the live streamers that are pushing out the People's Party, but probably the People's Party itself, because they seem to be purposely incapable of actually organizing. And when they do organize, they keep bringing in Jimmy Dore and the Convo Couch and people who are absolutely taking a hard right. They're clearly getting some GOP money at this point. Because why else would you push GOP talking points unless you were getting money to do it? You'd have to be a complete knucklehead. So the only way that we could have gotten to the point where this is no longer a pandemic was by having everybody get vaccinated. So what did they do? They created a lot of fear in that vaccination and tried to convince people not to get vaccinated. Convo Couch did that. Jimmy Dore did that. Don Ford did that. He just recently got banned from Twitter for doing exactly that. And I'm sorry, it's not enough to say, well, you should just wear masks. Because we've known since the very beginning of the pandemic that the COVID can get through your mask. The only reason you're wearing a mask is to protect other people. You're wearing a mask to protect other people, but COVID can get through your mask. If you're standing in close proximity to somebody who has it, it will get through your mask. That's why we still have to social distance. That's why you should get vaccinated, because if you do get it, you want to have a lighter case where it's not putting you in the hospital. And so when we have so many knuckleheads out there actually telling people not to take the vaccine, that's a real problem for us. And, you know, for those of us in progressive politics, why are you still humoring these people? Why are you still humoring people like Jimmy Dore, the Convo Couch, Lauren Steiner, Nico House, Don Ford, who are purposely misinforming you and contributing to genocide? That's what it is. You're basically convincing people to put their lives on the line for stupidity. For stupidity. And all the other topics that they cover that are absolute right-wing talking points, such as being transphobic, such as being homophobic, such as saying we need to focus on class, the class struggle, and not identity politics, because you know, there's no way that you can have any sort of individual needs as individual groups. This keeps happening over. I'll play a little bit more of his video and then I'll drop the link.
You see, WHO labels new COVID strain named Omicron a variant of concern, citing possible increased reinfection risk. So it is feared a sharp upswing of COVID cases in South Africa's Gauteng province, where the heavily mutated strain of the virus was first identified, could mean it has greater potential to escape prior immunity than other variants. And the WHO has said it will take weeks to understand how the variant may impact diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines. So they're not quite sure yet its impact on those who are vaccinated, but the way these variants tend to work, you open up these pockets, allow the vaccines or allow the virus to mutate and evolve, it's going to find its way around these vaccines and cause them to be less effective. So this potentially creates a massive new issue. But more here, they say the organization only labels COVID strains as variants of concern when they're more transmissible, more virulent, and or more adept at eluding public health measures, including vaccines and therapeutics. Data presented at a briefing Thursday, hosted by South Africa's Department of Health, indicates that some of Omicron's mutations are connected with improved antibody resistance, which could reduce the protection offered by vaccines. This is why you had to vaccinate everybody. Months.
Okay, so I'm gonna end my coverage of this right here, and then I'll drop David's link. Sorry that I caught him in mid blink so that he looks like he's high right there, but the folks telling you not to take a free vaccine, instead take medications that not only have not been tested to be appropriate treatment for COVID, but they actually cost you money. Jimmy Dore, Convo Couch, Steiner, Don Ford are all pushing you to support Big Pharma. That's not what, as progressives, we want Medicare for all, right? We want Medicare for all. So why are you listening to knuckleheads who tell you they're in support of that, but then try and convince you to take medications that are inappropriate, do not actually apply to treating COVID, but will raise money for Big Pharma? Does that make any sense to you? Does that make any sense to you, what these knuckleheads are doing? And can we finally reject them? Because I don't want to be a part of a movement where stupidity reigns on a daily basis.